Jumping right into Final Cut Pro 10 Lesson 2. Topic on this lesson is importing media. Now, we've already done some of this, and maybe we even know a few of the important tidbits. But just to take an overview, by the time this is over, we were going to understand a clip, an event, and a library. We're going to understand the difference between managed and external media files. We're going to learn how to create a camera archive. Super handy. That way you can back up all of your media and rest easy that you're not going to lose anything important. Finally, we're going to talk about how to import files using Media Import and the Finder, and also how to tweak a couple of settings here and there. Okay, let's jump over to Final Cut Pro. Now, I already have an event that I made, or rather a library. Oh, look at me, I wasn't paying attention there real quick. Just a reminder, library is the biggest container that Final Cut Pro uses to store events, clips, all the media. That's a library. Inside a library, there are multiple events, and you could have an event that could be just a scene from a movie. It could be a news story. It could be a webisode. It could be anything. It could be a wedding, a literal event. And that's what an event is. And it's very flexible. You can make it whatever you thought an event should be. Inside each event is a project. That's where we're going to do the editing phase. We'll get onto that a little bit later. But I already have a library here called Lifted. So make a new library of your own. Call it Lifted because we're going to be doing some editing on this particular short film that highlights this company that does aerial photography with a helicopter, which is pretty cool. Of course, I've got hot corners there. Check that out. And it looks like I've got a GoPro connected, but I don't really. I'm going to go ahead and eject that. What I actually have is that GoPro SD card that I opened from my Final Cut Pro 10 media folder. Now, as soon as you open that, you might get this window that pops open automatically. Click this import button right here, or you can go File, Import Media, or you can hit that keyboard shortcut. It's up to you. I like the keyboard shortcut because that way I know I can be fast. Inside this particular import window, the media import window, you can either view these clips as, that's awfully loud, I'm going to turn that down. You can either view these clips as thumbnails, or you can view them in what's called list view. And you can turn that off and on down here, or rather toggle back and forth between those two down here. While you're there, click this icon that will let you hide and show waveforms, and you can hide clips that you may have already imported off that memory card. You can zoom out a little bit so you can see a thumbnail, in this case once every second, or you pull it all the way down, you can view all. So my favorite shortcut, by the way, comes up here as view all, which is Shift Z, and that lets you zoom out and see everything. Remember that, view all. One thing we do want to take a look at is, I'm going to drag this over just a little bit so I can zoom in, creates optimized media. Now, Final Cut Pro is going to take the footage that comes off the GoPro, it comes off of our Canon cameras, whatever it is, Final Cut Pro is going to take that footage and it's going to create what's called optimized media if we have this box checked. And the type of file that it creates is called an Apple ProRes 422. Basically what that is it's a type of a QuickTime file that the computer does a really good job of handling. So an H.264 file, or something that comes off of a camera, sometimes the computer doesn't manipulate that as well. So it's already a compressed file and the computer kind of has a tough time operating with that. So if we want our editing to go faster, we can leave that optimized media on. That's about all we need to know about that. That's the kind of day-to-day operations. The Proxy media selection creates a little bit smaller file called a 422 proxy. And again, it's just a different way of taking each of those pictures that make up that video and compressing them and including them in a QuickTime movie file. Let's talk about creating a camera archive. Now, anytime we put an SD card in here, we get this option to create an archive. When it comes to creating an archive, you can put this anywhere you want, but I like our STA file server, that remote drive, because that's a place you can save it in your folder in a camera archives directory, and you know you can always go back there and import that media again later as needed. That way it's safe if you put it on the file server, and you know if for some reason our computers happen to have something go wrong with them, that we have that file that we can always pull back off of the file server. So when you're connected to that, you can get into your folder, you can save it and create that archive. So go ahead and try that. Save it on your desktop, doesn't matter where, just give that a try. Save that camera archive. You might want to do it every single time we use this software. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. It's up to you. Now I'm going to go into Final Cut Pro Preferences, and I'm going to go into Import Preferences. Here's where we want to talk about what managed media is versus what would happen if we leave the files in place. Essentially, we are in a good situation here. Final Cut Pro can take care of our media for us, as long as we have this copy to library storage location selected. So that means whenever we drag and drop a file in there, we're going to have that file copied into our library. Another way we could do that is to leave the files in place. The only way I could think of maybe wanting to do that is if you had a bunch of media on an external drive and you just wanted to leave it there because you were going to take that external drive, maybe edit elsewhere or whatever the case was, but you knew the media was on that external drive and that's where you wanted to keep it. So I could see that maybe being a reason to do that. Let's get back to that import window and let's talk about how we can select some multiple ranges of a clip. I'm just going to mute this for a second. Command-Shift-I will make an in point, and Command-Shift-O will make an out point. Command-Shift-I will make another in point, and Command-Shift-O will make another out point. What this allows us to do is to select just the footage that we want as we're importing. Right now, we've got plenty of hard drive storage, but you may have a 5-minute clip and you really know you only want 30 seconds of it. Well, another way you can select just the portion you want is to hold down the Command key and drag across it. That way you can select multiple areas of the same clip just by a few quick shortcuts like that. Command-Shift-I and O, or Command dragging. Now the last thing we're going to look at is how do we maintain a file structure when we get into Final Cut Pro. So we're going to, if we had a bunch of media in folders, so let me get out of here real quick and just show you what that might look like. Got to find that Final Cut media I was talking about. Now if we wanted to import all the footage that's in there and we wanted to maintain some of that file structure using keywords, we would want to select from folders underneath the keyword selection. And what that's going to do is basically, I'll show you real quick, when you hit import, is basically that's going to make every single folder that's in there its own keyword collection. So these were all folders that were in there, and now they're organized like that. So those are the things that we learned. Let's double check to make sure we got everything. We used the media import window in the Finder. We made a camera archive. We understand the difference between managed and external media files. We understand what a clip is, what an event is, and what a library is. And I think we've got it. So now, what do? Take the next 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, go through some of these steps. Import, Command-I, try some of the shortcuts. Shift, Command-I, Shift, Command-O, mark in and out points across a clip in different places. Command-click to draw an in point, out point, and then in another place in a clip. Go through all these things a few times because that's what we're here to do. We're not going to be better at it until we spend some time with it.